Hello, my friends. One more time, I am excited to welcome you to Cross-Cultural Experience. My name is Uche Onyebadi. Now, those of you who have been watching this, forum, you will know that I invite a guest, and then that person talks about his or her personal experience crossing to another culture, and then shares that experience with us. But more importantly, what did the person learn from that experience? Because when you cross from one culture to another, you're bound to find something new, something you're not used to. But from time to time, I also talk about myself, my own personal experience. Now, before I go into the forum for this week, I would like to invite you if you want to be my guest. All you need to do is to email me, at crossculturalexperiences@gmail.com. Crossculturalexperiences@gmail.com, and I'll respond, and then we can take things from there. Don't forget the S, crossculturalexperiences@gmail.com. Now, my experience, what I'm going to tell you this evening, it took place long time ago when I was actually a kid. So a little bit of history is very, very important for you to understand what I'm going to say. I used to live with a priest in a Catholic mission, and priests do all sorts of things. In those days, they were everything to everybody in the village. And so we used to have what we called sick calls. So when somebody is sick and that person is a Christian, somebody is going to come call the priest and say, hey, can you come and pray for this guy? He's sick, he or she is sick, probably dying, who knows? So the priest will always go drive to the place, say prayers and all that stuff. Some of them recover, some of them die. So I've experienced a lot. I experienced a lot of such activities. So they recover, other people, like I said, die. And so this was an incident that happened somewhere in Imo State, Nigeria. It's very close to a town called Okigwe, and the name of the place is Umuawibu. Now, we were called, remember, these sick calls come almost every week. We must have 1, 2, 3, sick calls. So this guy is called, and they don't telephone. In those days, there was no cell phone. So people would just trek or find a way to come and inform the priest. And so we drove to that place. It was like maybe 30 minutes or so drive, bad roads. And so when we arrived, this guy was a head Christian, one of the top Christian guys in the village. So we tried to enter the room, the very, very dimly lit room where he was. And then we were stopped by the elders who were not even Christians. And the priest was, what's going on here? I was called for sick call and I have come to this. The elder said, no, you can't come in at this point. Why? That they were performing traditional ritual. What do you mean traditional ritual? This guy was a head Christian. I said, this is not about Christianity, it's about culture, the culture of the people. You can't come in because that guy was, when he was alive, actually he was dying at that point. So that the guy was initiated into some kind of local cult, you might call it, something in the village. It was part of their culture, and that nobody dies with whatever that person was given at the point of initiation. Now, what was it? Not tangible. You couldn't say, okay, he was given a staff or whatever. No, they said nobody dies and gets buried with that thing. So they have to perform their own rituals and take it away. It was called AKU, that's the spelling, Aku, that they needed to take it, and that nobody dies in that village and it's buried with Aku, no matter who. So they have to perform the ritual and take it. So the priest was there. We waited by the outer room, but we could hear the incantations. They did their thing, finished, came out, and then said, okay, over to you. They left. That they had taken whatever it was. They were taken from their brother who had Actually, by the time we got into the room, he was already dead. Ooh. So the priest, of course, performed, said the prayers and all that stuff we were used to whenever you were called for the sick call. And then we finished and then we left. But as we were driving back now, this priest was one huge guy. I never saw him intimidated by anybody, not even the police, not even the army. But this was one occasion where he just was a little bit, not a little bit, he was just subdued. He just kept quiet. He didn't bother them. They finished. We went, finished our stuff, and we drove home. So I had to ask him, so what was it that was going on? He told me, I don't know. That was unlike, then he was called the Reverend Father Donatus Abiameri. He ended up being a Monsignor before he passed on. So what was this aku that they were aku or aku, whatever they were taking away from? He said, I have no idea. I said, but that guy was a head Christian. As a priest, you could have stopped them, and it demanded that you needed to do what? To say the last rituals or sacraments or whatever, the prayers. He said, no, that's their culture. Don't bother them. Don't disturb them. Let them do theirs when they finish. Just like we experienced, I went in, I did my stuff, and that was it. And that was the end of the conversation. That experience never left me. How they insisted that this man, who was a head Christian, they were going to take the akuk from him. Not even a priest of the Catholic Church could stop them. It was just part of their own culture. And the priest was wise enough to say, let them go ahead and do whatever. He wasn't going to stop them. In any case, he couldn't have stopped them because they even told him, don't come in until we finish our stuff. So that was my experience and what I learned from it, from what the priest also told me, because that's the essence of this forum. What did you learn from that experience? I learned right from that time when I was a kid. Hey, when you cross from one culture to another, you have an obligation to respect what the people do. It is not your duty or your position or your power to say you must stop. We have to do it this way. No. So I learned that. Probably that was at the back of my mind when I was conceptualizing this forum. Cross-cultural experience. Go to another culture, you have an obligation, to respect whatever it is that they do over there. Now, when you go back home to your own original culture, you can do whatever it is that you want. All right, so that experience, I also articulated it as well as other experiences in a book that was published. I published recently. It's called Father's Peking. I mean, you can translate it to mean father's child because I was a kid and I was with the priest. So Father's Peking has all my experiences growing up in the mission, including this one I've just told you that happened at Umuawibu near Okigwe in Imo State. So how do you get a copy of this book? If you have already obtained a copy, thank you very much. If you're interested in getting a copy of this book, all you need to do is to visit the publisher's website. It is called fairdealpublishers.com, www.fairdealpublishers.com. So I just, in my own handwriting, I just decided to put it this way, fairdealpublishers.com. So you go there, you'll see the image of the book, click on it, and then it will take you to the website where you can buy it. It's not very expensive, I will say, because if you're in North America, Canada, and Western Europe, it will only cost you $9.99. If you are anywhere else in this world, outside this area, it will just be $5.99, just almost like $6. So when you have time and you want to share you want to know about my experience, growing up in the mission and everything that surrounds it, hey, let's go buy this book. www.fairdealpublishers.com. Okay. You recall that at the beginning, I told you if you want to be my guest, all you need to do is email me crossculturalexperiences@gmail.com. I will respond to your email and then we can take it from there. Recently, I also asked people if you have any typical experience, even if it is within a nearby culture, within the same country, yeah, no problem. We can talk about it. And we've been talking about how people give names, to their kids. Is amazing how people give names to their kids. I've been learning a lot from Kuwait, from Ghana, from Nigeria, from Kenya. I have been learning. It's always very, very exciting to understand and, to know and understand why people or how people give names to their kids. All right. Thank you for paying attention for being with me for this episode of Cross-Cultural Experience. I will come your way again next week. Meanwhile, stay blessed, be happy, and try to give yourself some kind of respite from all the things you do. Because some of the illnesses we have these days, what causes them? Stress. Okay, bye for now.